Good morning, traders. This is Ed Carter with the Trader Vision 2020 Featured Trade Idea, the setup and trade plan for Thursday, October 18th, 2018. Before we get started, I do want to tell you that Rick and I agonized over what we wanted to put out as the featured trade idea today. Markets are just a mess, and I'm going to advise you, just like yesterday, to put in some serious caution. While we are in what is probably a bear flag, so we have a bearish trend, we haven't broken the trend, but we are trending positive in the very short term, so 3 or 4 days, maybe 2 days. Very much indecision yesterday, and that was across the board, not just the SPY, but we've got doji type candles in the IWM, and the Qs was a little bit different, more of a hammer type, but indecision pretty much across the board. Nothing except for the Qs has taken on this long-term, or let's call it medium-term downtrend that's been going on since early part of October here, first couple days of October. So we are in a place where we should be very cautious. The pre-market futures are showing down about 1/3% across the board. So we're leaning more towards the bearish side, going with this trend, going with the potential for an evening star type and a failure at the trend line. But it's really a crapshoot. It really is at this point. So our choice today for the feature trade idea is ERY. This is a, let me change back to the right chart. This is a 3x inverse ETF, so it's a bear ETF for energy. Be aware that we have headline risk in energy with the Saudi consulate situation. Anything that is done in terms of sanctions or whatever could be met with some sort of disruption, or even prior to any disruption, the oil markets could react to that. So beware of that. Nonetheless, it is setting up here in more of a, let's call it a pennant type of situation. So there's one leg of the pennant, and there's the other. Of course, here's your pole. And we'll be looking for a breakout of that. We took targets off of a weekly chart up here. The first target here, we got a couple touches there and a couple touches here, about 40 bucks. Up here, we've got a few touches and then a few more touches up around 45 and change. So those will be our targets, and yes, we have to get through the 200 along the way, but this is probably the best we can do today. I am probably not going to trade, but that's the targets that we will lay out, and let's see what we can do. Let's plan this trade. Of course, being an ETF itself, it has no earnings. However, it is subject to all the earnings of its underlying, well, in this case, industry, the energy industry, and those will be coming fast and furious over the next couple weeks. So bear that in mind. But we've got 3 bullish conditions and 2 bearish conditions, with the long and short-term biases of the market being against us, and the longer-term and shorter-term biases of the chart itself now being in our favor. In other words, the 50 has turned up, and the short-term trend is positive as well. We've got no signal. We had an indecisive candle right at that resistance level, and you saw that marked out on the weekly, I hope. But we can kind of see where it comes from here. It's right in that area, someplace right in there is resistance, and we're sitting right at that level. So once we break out of it, we'll be looking for a little run. Let's plan this as one entry and two exits. We're going to look for what is that? Let's call it 36.65. So it's about a 35-cent move to the positive side, with a, I'm going to make it real tight. Let's call it 35.25 as a stop. That's still $1.30. Is that right? Yeah, I guess so. And that first target up there, let's just call it $40. And that second target, let's just call it $45, just to see how this works out. Says we can do 107 shares. I don't think we can do that. Yeah, we can't even do that. So I'm not sure this is going to work. But let's try 60 shares. And maybe 70. 70 shares, if we sold 35, it only has $100 risk if we're stopped out there. If we did 35 shares at that first target, we would get our 2-to-1, but we'd get almost nothing. And remember, we need to get through the 200 to get there. And if we sold the remaining 35 shares at that second target, it would be a 16% trade. And that's really where the money's going to be made in that second target. Almost 23% up to there, which would give us $410 in profit, making our trade goal for this account. However, remember, we have to get through both the 200 and that first level to get there. Let's go back and look at that weekly chart one more time, just so you're aware of where we're at. So this first target, we can argue it could be down just a touch to pick up, a touch there, but I'm going to say it's close enough to pick up this touch, and these two. Then we've got to get through the 200 to get there, which I don't see any place to logically put another level unless it would be clear down in here. Let's just see what happens if I drop a line there. Pick up 1, 2, 3 there, well 4, or I can come down here and pick up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe 37.50 is a better look, and that 37.50 is probably about where, well, no, that 200 is flat, so you'll have to decide for yourself what you think on whether 37.50 should be considered a level. But this will be the trade plan for today. Again, I urge caution, and keep in mind you've got to get through the 200 before you even reach that first target, and really you're not going to make the money needed to achieve our goal until we reach that second target, or midway between the two targets. So bear that in mind. Please evaluate this against your view of the market. In my view, it's a terrible market to trade, but this is how we plan out a trade, and that's the idea of this blog, is to show you the process. Also against your style, trading rules, and criteria. If you do decide to take this trade, I wish you the best of luck. I do hope that you enjoy these videos. If you do, please hit the like and subscribe buttons below. And finally, I hope to see you in the trading room.